Hi, welcome back to my channel. So in tonight's video I'm going to be talking about politics and sin. I've experienced a lot of horror at my flaws, and I wish they didn't exist. And one of the things that I struggle with creatively is reality being so far from the ideal. I was always aiming at being some abstract, impossible being, and writing in that way. And reality of things is not how I want it to be. But reality is what's interesting, because you can find all these interrogation points and explore them meaningfully. And the terrible things or the dull things in ourselves that we wish weren't the case, but they're interesting because they're the case. All of this falling short is the way that things actually are. That's what's meaningful, and that's what's interesting. And a lot of creative output is dealing with this. When things go wrong or you miss a point of communion with someone else, it's really hard to grapple with these aspects. But I think a sense of sin or a sense of always falling short is really important, because it helps normalize this. It makes it the case for yourself and for everybody. Right-wing politics is accepting that we have these aspects in ourselves and constructing a life that allows for this reality and allows us to deal with it, and the left seem to discard it entirely. So I went on dates and became actually very close to two guys who were very much enmeshed in left-wing politics, and I don't care, because I'm not really political myself. I don't have any strong views. I have opinions, but politics was never so important to me. But they were using it as a way of masking their personalities, of masking their desires, of weakening themselves because they couldn't deal with the strength of themselves. And this is quite the topic, so I feel that I have to explain a lot in a short space of time, and find the best way of conveying what I really mean. But I think, so, I guess one of the main things was they were really crippling themselves with an ideal of this, ideal self that they had to be, this political, not even political, but like politically correct, perfect self who's completely harmless, sort of neutralized, and in the process to neutralize all their desires, which come out anyway, sometimes quite aggressively. Can't really be avoided, and then when it gets interrogated, not even intentionally but naturally coming up against things that really say, well, this isn't how things actually are. There's a lot more behind this political facade, or behind the accepted ways of saying and doing things, that seems like dangerous to their sense of self, and also to their sense of self-control, to their masculinity, because it's emasculating to have to sort of back down from this righteousness. And sometimes they were using it as a way of controlling fear. A lot of the time social anxiety or fear of intimacy hides behind the political facade. But other times it's because I have a very strong personality, and I've never been very good at boundaries. If you knock on my door, I'll open it, and they were very desperate. One of them was going on a lot of dates to get over a previous relationship, and the other had never had a relationship. He was 26 and had a lot of eagerness, I guess, because he was extremely flattered by my interest in him, which sounds like a horrible thing to say, but that's what it was, and that's what he admitted. Came in extremely fast and rushed things and didn't really know what he was doing and panicked. And I guess because I have a very strong personality and I'm very strange, and very hard to categorize, and that's just because I've, I guess, come detached from a lot of the things that you would expect someone to, a lot of like life events kind of happened for me in a strange way, and I think that, and I think strangely, and I think that politics then became a way of like trying to get me to subdue, or trying to like exert themselves, or trying not to have to question things that they'd never questioned before. Politics then becomes a door slamming in your face, or becomes kind of foot on your head. And um, I'm very aware of this. I'm very socially aware, and so I would just like call it out, or just um, be more provocative in response, because you can't demand compassion of me, or compassionate statements can't be demanded. Like natural compassion can be asked for and demanded um, by the occasion asking for it, but not. You can't force me to say things that I don't believe in, which aren't real at all, just because you think I phrased something in a way that might seem offensive. Um, I think that's a very poor sense of masculinity. Really, it's kind of sad if that's your way of being a man. Is, oh, what you said might be offensive, so I don't want to. I can't. I find you uncomfortable because you have opinions that I don't agree with. Um, it's a very strange thing for a man to say, and very sad. But it's also the way that they crippled their own lives. Because one of them would never hit on a woman in a bar, because or at all, because that might make her uncomfortable, and I could really harm somebody by doing that. I think that's just a mask for social anxiety, and understandably so, but it's just kind of sad. And um, I don't think that left-wing politics was the cause of his problems of intimacy, but I think his problems of intimacy were being framed through left-wing politics and a sort of fear of exerting himself as a person, because there's no, when everything's permissible, then you don't know what is and isn't. It's like, where's the guidelines? Like, how are you supposed to behave? What's normal? What's not normal? What's offensive? What's not offensive? What's acceptable? There's no like parameters for anything. So you tend to, I guess, become extremely restricted through the left-wing view, because it's like everything is terrifying, and when really, you have a lot of strength. And I think if you encounter it in a more religious sense, then it's like, well, yeah, I have this, and I deal every day with my desires, and I deal every day with these more animalistic, less savory things about me. But that's the whole of being a human being, is kind of, perhaps even in a Freudian sense, of riding the id. It's like we have these aspects, and we can't deny that they exist. And if you try to deny that they exist, you just cripple yourself, and it just becomes a way of, I don't know, like I could go on talking about this. I'm not really sure how to frame this kind of video, because there's a lot that I want to say and I don't know how to condense it, but I think I'll just make this video, and then I'll elaborate and condense and explain a lot better. And I'm not saying any of this in a way of trying to attack anybody or to complain about anybody, but it's more of I'd seen how people had tried to soften themselves out of a sense of fear of their real selves, and then it's like, or like a fear of their badness, and there's no way of dealing with that, there's no way of normalizing that. And these people who, like someone who I knew also from being very, very involved in left-wing politics and growing up in a very left-wing household, became terrified that he was evil. He thought he was evil, and he was causing destruction to the world. It was like he shouldn't even exist because he's so evil. It's just really sad, because it's like that maybe, yeah, we all have an inner sense of fear of harming people and of evil, or of the repercussions for that, but that's just normal. There's a way of normalizing it. There's a way of finding a framework that allows this side of yourself, rather than like completely cutting it off and saying that we don't have this, and that you're not entitled to this, or not entitled to to have this strength and this darkness and this animalistic desire, but then also, and it's perfectly normal. Yeah, don't let it get out of control. There can be really bad consequences from that, but there's like I just think sin is a better framework, and in modernity we're not allowing ourselves a sense of sin. And I think even a sense like social anxiety is a sin. I've done so many horrible things just because I was scared, or I've let so many people down, and I've left so many people lonely, and I've left so many people waiting on me just because I was afraid. And I think, or I've wasted so much because I was lazy. You know, all of these things are sinfulness. They're all my animal desires really manifesting themselves, and these are things I have to ride to appeal to my higher self and to appeal to what I really know I'm capable of. And you know, there's another thing I want to say about how one of these guys romanticized me as someone who doesn't care about what society's asking of women. And my response to this is, well, really, society's asking nothing of women. But I have to get into this in another video because it's I'm not sure how to explain it. I think it's something I need to think out how I'm going to say, because it's I don't know, my mind works in a way, I guess because I'm an INTP, I've got this extroverted intuition that flies off everywhere, and I could just talk for hours and hours and then never upload a video. And that's why I haven't uploaded anything for a while, is because I've got so many ideas, I just don't know how to make them happen, or how to, you know, explain to people.